point to get inside the wreck. Here you can see the fire burned a significant amount of that. Here we're actually getting inside a little bit. Welcome to your first view inside this boat since 37. Since it sank. Wow, look at that. So the blue ROV is a little heavy. It's a little negatively buoyant, so it tends to sink. It makes it really good for recovery operations, but not the best for video documentation. Because it settles down, we can get really stable view from static shots. Mm-hmm. But if we try to navigate deeper into the wreck, the thrusters are going to churn up a lot of sediment. So I intentionally didn't want to go too far into the wreck using this equipment. Having scuba divers go in poses a really high risk, because you'll see that there's a lot of pipes, there's a lot of stray pieces of timber, creating a really high entanglement risk. You also just see the fine sediment that does get turned up. You'll lose visibility extremely quickly. So it's likely it's going to be a very high risk to send in divers into this site to document it, because it's really small, really hard to navigate around in there. ROV is going to be the best tool to use to document this site.
When you're swimming around the outside of this wreck, how much sunlight penetrates down that far?
So, I mean, you can see, at about 60 feet, you still have light, but it's far less intense than if it was like 6 or 8 feet deep. The first thing you'll notice is that there's not a lot of vegetation growing around it. The steamboat Willis, for example, is about 6 to 8 feet deep. So there's a lot of vegetation growing around it. Every year you'll have new growth of weeds that'll grow around the site and then lay down as the weeds die back, and it'll build up layers of vegetation and decay around it. Whereas the Kee-O-Mee, it's deep enough where you don't have a lot of vegetation growing around it, and it's preserving that site a lot better. Here you can see the inside. You can see the decking kind of coming up, some of this main structure on the keel. Wow, isn't it just amazing?
Exactly.
And there you can see a piece of piping, or possibly most likely a pipe. All of that would pose an extremely high risk for divers. Getting our regulator hoses caught up on that, not being able to turn around to get out in the event of an emergency. Wreck penetration or wreck diving, requires a lot of specialized training. There we're coming around here. You can see a real world example of what it would look like if you were panicking in a wreck, not being able to see or getting out very easily. So whenever you're diving, overhead environments like the Kee-O-Mee would definitely serve as an overhead environment. You don't have a direct access to the surface. So if we were in the wreck and say we ran out of air, say we had a equipment malfunction, say that there was an injury that we needed to evacuate that wreck quickly, that environment would not allow us to do so. So we have to take very special precautions, not only for preserving the integrity of the wreck. A stray fin kick could disrupt a piece of parchment that might have some important documentation on it. We might damage some fragile glassware or something, that we would really want to preserve. And the main objective for my work is not recovery. My goal isn't to take pieces away from this site. My objective is to document the site with the most sophisticated technology that I have available. So, my goal is to, use photogrammetry modeling, to document and preserve this site to the best of our abilities. We are reaching out to, leading maritime archaeology experts with Woods Hole Institute. We have a very good contact that we made with them, and they're going to be providing some counsel how to, do proper wreck or do more advanced, more sophisticated wreck preservation techniques. It's it's the best that we have with the resources that we have.